on is the use of different currencies. Let me repeat, we are to use US GAAP when the case is silent. Unless otherwise stated, US GAAP will be utilized. I want you to imagine a company located in the United States, a parent multinational, with a subsidiary in island X. The government in island X requires the use of a currency called X. Okay? Obviously, in the US, it's the US dollar. But in island X, there is a separate X currency. Gain. Now, this island X is close to Europe, and therefore, when there are fluctuations in the exchange rate with the euro, the price levels are also fluctuating. Kung tumataas yung euro, tumataas din yung mga presyo ng bilihin. Bumabagsak yung euro, bumabagsak yung presyo ng bilihin. So Island X, although this is required by the government, may not be the functional currency. Functional currency is the currency of the economic environment in which the entity operates. Malinaw? Although X is the currency to be used in this island, Euro is arguably the currency that we can consider a functional currency. Whether IFRS or US GAAP, remember that we are requiring the use of functional currency. Kahit ano pang standards gagamitin nyo, functional currency dapat. Now, if the government requires that the books, the accounting records be in X currency, we call this the currency of record. Okay, there is a need to convert this into euro, which is the functional currency. Okay, which is the functional currency. We call this process remeasurement. And we apply what we call the temporal method. Temporal method. There should be a remeasurement. From the currency of record to the functional currency, there should be a remeasurement. Use the temporal method. In the temporal method, monetary assets will be converted using the current rate, while the non-monetary assets, we are to use the historical rate. Okay? For monetary assets, current rate. Non-monetary, use the historical rate. Now, kapag i-consolidate yung FS ng subsidiary together with the parent, masusunod si parent dito, yung functional currency niya. We call this the presentation currency. From functional currency of the subsidiary to that of the parent, the reporting currency, we call this the translation. Okay? We call this process the translation. We use the current rate method. Magiging monetary or non-monetary assets, current rate ang gagamitin natin. Okay? Again, from currency of record to the functional currency, we call this remeasurement. Temporal method ang gagamitin. From the functional currency of the subsidiary to the presentation of the parent currency, translation, current rate method. Current rate method, everything is current rate from the word itself. Temporal method, monetary assets and liabilities, current rate. Monetary items, assets and liab. Non-monetary, historical rate ang gagamitin. Game? Sige. I'm going to give you 1 minute to answer this question. 1 minute to answer this question. There are several reasons why a subsidiary, foreign subsidiary's reporting currency may not be its functional currency. The functional currency is defined as blank. 1 minute, go. Everybody, please enter your answers. Everybody, please enter your answers. The functional currency is the currency of the primary economic environment in which it operates. The correct answer is letter boy. The correct answer is letter boy. Sana malinaw yun, ha? Sana malinaw yun. The correct answer is B, boy. Next question. According to ASC 830, this is US GAAP, there are three steps to consolidate the foreign sub into the US parent's FS. When the subsidiary does not keep its financial records in its functional currency, the steps are enumerated. Okay, please give me the correct order of the steps. I will give you another minute to answer. Enter now. Enter your answers, everyone. In what order should these steps occur? Naturally, you should do your accounting according to generally accepted accounting principles. Kahit kailan, yan naman talaga dapat, no? So the first and foremost thing that you should do is to modify it to conform with GAAP. No, the FS should be in accordance with GAAP. Yun yung first step na hindi ko na binanggit kanina, but should be understood na yan talaga dapat gawin. It should be based on the standards. Follow the standards. Follow the standards in its entirety. Yun yung una. Next step, remeasurement. I-remeasure natin to its functional currency dahil yung recording currency niya, hindi yun yung functional currency. The process is remeasuring. Once remeasured, you may now translate from the functional currency to the presentation currency or reporting currency of the parent. Number 3. 2, 1, 3. The correct answer is C. 2, 1, 3. Next, I will give you 1 minute to answer this one. Go. Enter now. Enter. Enter. Okay. When remeasuring foreign currency financial statements into the functional currency, which of the following items would be remeasured using historical exchange rates? When it will be settled in cash or receivable in cash, we call them monetary assets. For example, bonds payable, you will pay cash for it. Marketable equity securities, the reason why you report them at market value is because you can sell them anytime. Accrued liabilities are payable in cash. No? Pag sinabing accrual, papayaran mo yan sa future. On the other hand, inventory is carried at cost. You cannot sell it at market price unless you're doing the business itself. No? You are really into the business. Inventory is carried at cost. No? Ito yung mga tangible items katulad ng gold, wheat, okay? Or manufacturing ka, gumagawa ka ng chairs. Construction, gumagawa ka ng building. Okay, inventories that are carried at cost. Inventories that are carried at cost are non-monetary because you have to exert effort to sell them. Okay, hindi naman wala naman may utang sa dahil meron kang inventory. Okay? Non-monetary items in remeasurement are converted using historical exchange rates. The correct answer is letter A. Very good. Nakuha nyo yung pinagsasabi ko. Next is the impact of inflation. Remember that we ignore inflation in preparing the financial statements. Aside from the use of different currencies, which can affect the way your FS is analyzed, inflation can distort your analysis of the FS as well. Pwede rin makasira sa analysis mo ng FS yung tinatawag nating inflation. Okay ba? Sige. The financial statements are prepared under the assumption of a stable monetary unit. That is, the money or currency's value does not change in value. But this is not true. We know that inflation is a reality. General price levels in the economy do increase, right? Tumataas naman talaga yung presyo. So, the 1 peso in the balance sheet 10 years ago is more valuable than the 1 peso in the balance sheet now. Unfortunately, we ignore this difference in the value of money, okay, the purchasing power of money, when we analyze FX. Okay? So we have to make a conscious effort in accounting for inflation whenever we evaluate the financial statements. Okay? Inflation decreases the purchasing power of the currency. We know that. Okay? First, gusto ko munang balikan nyo yung pag-calculate ng inflation rate. We'll give you 2 minutes on this. Go. Mhm. Everyone, pakilatag ang sagot. Is it A, B, C, or D? Everyone. The CPI rises. Consumer Price Index rises during the year from 176 to 179.5. The rate of inflation during the year is the rate of inflation is 179.5 from 176. That's an increase of 350. Obviously, divide this by the starting CPI, the beginning CPI, para makuha natin yung percentage increase. This is 1.99%. Therefore, ira-round off natin sa 2. 1.99 yan ha. So round it off to 2%. The correct answer is letter dog. Ha? Ira-round up na yan. Siyempre, i-divide natin saan nanggaling, no? It came from 176 to 179.5. Divide it by 176, ha? Please take note of that. Okay. If we are to consciously remove the impact of inflation, then what we are really looking into is the change in activity, the change in the volume of the sales, the units sold, the change of the volume of the work, kung dumami ba yung trabaho. Okay. So, hindi maganda kapag base lang tayo sa revenue, pero yung revenue pala, tumaas lang dahil tumaas yung presyo ng item natin. Pero yung negosyo natin, hindi naman pala lumaki. Na? Okay. So, when we do evaluation of the company, when we evaluate the company, please remove the effect of inflation whenever it is highly material. Tingnan nga natin kung kaya niyong tanggalin ang effect ng inflation. We'll give you 2 minutes for this one. We'll give you 30 seconds more. Tanggalin niyo yung effect ng inflation, ha? Tumaas ba o bumaba yung sales? Eaton Corp had an 8% sales increase from 20x1 to 20x2. If sales were $125,000 in 20x1 and the inflation rate for the same period was 11%, what was Eaton's real sales increase? When we use the word real, yun yung totoo. Hindi lang dahil tumaas yung presyo. Remove the effect of inflation if you would like to know the real change in 20x2. Enter everyone. Enter everyone. So let us look at the nominal sales increase. Nominal kasama yung inflation. Sales were $125,000 in 20x1. Tumaas siya ng 8% ng 20x2. 125,000 times 1.08, it became $135,000. Yang $135,000 na yan, however, para tanggalin natin yung effect ng inflation diyan, we may divide this by 1 plus the inflation rate. We may divide this by 1 plus the inflation rate. $135,000, removing inflation divided by 1.11, 121,622. Saan tayo nanggaling? Nanggaling tayo sa 125K. 125K to 121,622, that's a decrease. There is a real decrease in sales by 3,378. Yung totoo, yung sales, bumaba siya in real terms. Mukha lang siyang tumaas dahil nagsintaasan mga presyo. Pero yung totoong volume of units mo, hindi talaga siya tumaas. Actually, bumaba pa nga. Correct answer is C. Very good, maraming tumama. Marami-rami ang sumagot ng tama. Next question. The Mid Corporation reports the following financial results. The question is, which of the following is correct? Which of the following is correct? Two minutes. Game. Yung inflation factor, yan yung CPI, no? Yung price levels. Enter now. Enter your answers, everyone. Which of the following is correct? A. Letter dog, mali. Kung i-calculate nyo yung inflation rate, year 2 and year 3. Okay? Hindi niya na-exceed yung increase ng sales from year 2 to year 3. 59/13, that is above 107 divided by 1.03. No? Letter C, inflation increase reported sales. No. Hindi niya in-increase yung sales more than yung COGS. Okay? Actually, yung COGS mas mataas yung increase. No? Kung titingnan nyo yung sales, kung titingnan nyo yung sales, 11% lang, 12% lang yung increase. 10% lang yung increase. Kung titingnan nyo yung cost of goods sold, 100 divided by 750, 13.33%. Yung sales nag-increase lang ng 12%. So C and boy, wrong. The correct answer is A. Although sales reported increased by 12%, 14 minus 1,250 divided by 1,250, it is an increase of 12%. Your CPI, the inflation factor, increased by 10%. So doon sa 12% na increase ng sales, maliit yun, no? Maliit yung 12% increase dahil 10% yung effect ng inflation. Okay? So, realistically, you are only increasing your sales level by 2%, accounting for price change. Tumaas lang yung volume mo ng 2%. Malinaw, ha? Sana malinaw 'yun, ha? Okey. Eto, alam niyo naman na nakakaapekto sa financial statement presentation 'no? Financial statement presents accounting profit. What are you going to do with your extra funds? Think of this case. Isipin niyo yung case na ito. What are you going to do with your extra funds? You would like to start your business. Say for example, in your business, sabihin na natin na nag-project ka, your sales revenue will be 1 million. Okay? Your sales revenue will be 1 million. Assuming you have extra funds, you may want to start your business. Sales revenue would be 1 million. Accounting expenses 700,000. It will give you an accounting profit of 300,000. But what if kung hindi ka nag-business, pwede kang magtrabaho, no? You have an opportunity to have a job, and furthermore, the funds can be put in a mutual fund, no? At kumita ng increase in appreciation of price, no? Sa mga stocks, sa dividends, etc. Okay? So let us say that if you would instead of running a business, you would work and put your funds in a fund that would put your funds in a mutual fund that would earn returns. Sabihin na natin na kikita ka sana ng 400,000. We call that opportunity cost. No? We call that opportunity cost. Unfortunately, your accounting reports only present the first three. Ito lang ang nakikita natin sa income statement. But in reality, for decision-making purposes, opportunity cost and other hidden costs, which we call implicit cost, and other implicit costs, they should be accounted for as well. Kailangan natin silang i-account for. So this would lead us to the concept of economic profit. Okay? This would lead us to the concept of economic profit. Okay? Yung economic profit natin dito is actually an economic loss, no? It's actually an economic loss. So what's the economic loss here? 100,000, no? 100,000. Okay lang? Sa anong nakikita nyo sa financial statements? Accounting profit lang. Pero yung mga ginamit mong puhunan, pwede mo sanang ilagay sa ibang bagay. Yung effort mo, pwede mo sanang ilagay sa ibang bagay. At na pag at na at hindi mo nagawa, no? Hindi mo pinagkakitaan sa ibang bagay dahil binuhos mo dito sa business na 'to. We call that an opportunity cost. The sad thing is opportunity cost is not accounted for in the accounting records. Okay? It's not accounted for in the accounting records, but it is relevant for decision making. Sana malinaw, ha? Okay. What is the correct definition of economic profit? 1 minute, go. Game. Everyone, please answer. Okay. It is the excess of accounting revenues over accounting expenses. Accounting profit pa lang yun. Pero i-account din yung opportunity cost. That is what economic profit is all about. Ulitin ko. Let's say you have extra funds, you want to start a business. Okay? So lahat ng effort at pondo mo ilagay mo sa negosyo, projected kang kumita ng 300,000. Wow, meron akong kita. Pero ang hindi natin nakikita sa income statement Yung nawalang pagkakataon na kumita sa ibang bagay. Yung effort sana natin, pwede natin ilagay, no? Ilagay natin sa work, no? Employment o kaya ibang business other than this. Yung effort natin, ay yung funds natin pwede sanang kumita sa stocks, no? O kaya sa cryptocurrency, etc. So, we are not accounting for opportunity cost in accounting. Okay? So, it is relevant for decision making and therefore part of the calculation of what we call economic profit. Okay? So, letter boy is the correct definition of economic profit. Okay? Accounting changes. Alam nyo naman yung change in accounting estimate. Okay? It should be treated prospectively. Now, moving forward. Change in accounting principles. Ito yung change in accounting policy nung undergrad, no? Change in accounting policy nung undergrad. Kapag meron kang change in accounting policy, it should be retrospectively adjusted. Okay? You have to change the previously issued financial statements as well to make things more comparable. Okay? Correction of errors, similar to retrospective adjustment, you have to restate the financial statements. You have to state again the financial statements. Similar to that. Okay? Ayan. Mga ganitong bagay, alam kong kaya nyo. No? 2 minutes for this one. Go. Enter now. Enter now. When Benet Resources bought their new cutting machine in 2008, the supplier estimated that the machine would have a useful life of 20 years. However, 10 years later in 2018, it became obvious that the machine will no longer be useful after 12 years. How should this change be recorded? Okay. Alam nyo naman na yung change ng useful life, that is only a change in estimate. A change in useful life is only a change in estimate. A change in estimate will be adjusted for only prospectively. Pag sinabing prospectively, the current year up to the future. Wala kang babaguhin sa past. The company should make an adjustment to the depreciation expense account for the 2018. Huwag mo nang idamay yung 2008, 2009. Wala na yun, no? Hayaan mo na. I-adjust mo na lang yung 2018 financial statements. Moving forward, 2019, 2020. Wala ka nang babaguhin sa mga beginning balances mo. Ha? The correct answer is A. Again, a change in depreciation is a change in accounting estimate to be treated prospectively. Now moving forward. If it is a change in accounting principle, or in your case, you call it policy, saka kayo magre-retro. Balikan nyo. Okay? 38. If a company changes their inventory pricing method from FIFO to average cost. It would represent a 1 minute. I'll give you 1 minute. Go. Enter. Anong sagot nyo? Everyone enter. So this is a change in principle, ha? This is a change in principle. Babaguhin mo yung inventory policy mo from first in, first out. Gagawin mong weighted average. Hindi ba ito yung naalala nyo sa financial accounting, yung ginagawa nyo, rina-restate nyo, parang inuulit nyo yung paglagay ng inventory balance sa past year? Okay. So, change in depreciation expense, it is treated prospectively. Pero kung yung weighted average gawin mong FIFO, yung FIFO gawin mo LIFO, sa US GAAP pwede yung LIFO ha. And so on and so forth. No? Pag inventory pricing method yung pinag-uusapan, it's already an a change in accounting principle. Okay? How about this one? 2 minutes. Game, enter. Enter now. Toby's company is trying to determine the effects of retrospective application. After some time, the company recognized that it is not possible to determine these effects. So kung hindi kaya, wag pilitin. No? So what happens here is that it will be considered impracticable to apply the retrospective approach. Hindi na natin ma-work back yung mga previous na FS kung anong effect, assuming yung bagong principle yung enforce at that time. Okay? The likely result is that it will be considered impracticable and therefore it should be disclosed, at least IFRS dinidisclose, no? And treated prospectively na lang. The correct answer is letter C. Kung hindi na kaya, kahit estimate, hindi yan kaya. So wag niyong sagutin ng boy ha. May mga times talaga na hindi kaya. No? So kung hindi kaya, you just considered it impracticable. You just have to state the reason why. Okay? No? After some time. Ibig sabihin sinubukan niya, no? After some time, hindi talaga posible. Impracticable to apply the retrospective approach. Next. What about this one? What about this one? Okay na? Globe trade. Okay? We'll give you 1 or 2 minutes for this. Okay, enter now. Everyone, please give your answers. Everyone ha, yung mga iba napansin ko kumukonti na lang. So this is Globe Trade is a retailer that buys virtually all of its merchandise from manufacturers in a country experiencing significant inflation. This means that the prices Globe Trade is paying for the merchandise are increasing. Globe Trade is considering changing its method of inventory costing from FIFO to LIFO. What effect would the change from FIFO to LIFO have on Globe Trade's current ratio and inventory turnover ratio? Alam naman natin kapag first in, first out, yung mura, yun yung unang binenta. No? Yung unang pasok, yung mura pa yung inventory, ina-assume yun yung binenta. Sa LIFO, last in, first out, yung kakapasok pa lang, yung last in, no, yung kakapasok, yun yung unang nabenta. So yung mahal yung nabenta. So the effect on the inventory is that the inventory will become lower. Kasi yung naiiwan sa LIFO, yung mga dati pang binili, no? Yung binili 10 years ago, nandun pa sa LIFO, nandun pa sa inventory. Well, sa FIFO, ina-assume na naiiwan sa inventory yung bago, yung mahal. A shift from FIFO to LIFO will cause a decrease in the inventory balance, tapos yung COGS tataas. The cost of goods sold would increase. Why? Because under LIFO, yung kakapasok lang na mahal na produkto, no? Yung kakapasok kasi may inflation, mahal yung produkto, yun yung unang mabebenta. Yun yung unang mabebenta. Okay? So, the correct answer is boy. The current ratio would decrease because inventory would go down. The inventory turnover ratio would increase because COGS over inventory turnover. No? So tataas yung numerator, bababa yung denominator. Okay? Next is earnings quality. Okay. So what's this earnings quality? I-visualize natin yung earnings quality, ha? Isipin nyo kapag nire-report ng company na malaki yung kita nila. Excuse me. Excuse me. Sorry for that. Okay. Imagine if the company would like to overstate its profit para maengganyo yung mga investors na mamuhunan sa kanila. Pangit yun, di ba? The reason why we have accounting standards is to protect the investors, lenders, and trade creditors. Okay? Yung reason kung bakit tayo merong tinatawag na accounting standards, ang gusto kasi natin mangyari ay maprotektahan yung mga investors tsaka lenders. Hindi sila maloko. Okay? So, when companies report profit, it should be something that they can sustain, something that would be indicative of future returns. Okay? Alam niyo yung confirmatory tsaka predictive value, no? It should be something that they can sustain, no? Something that we can use to predict the future. Hindi yun pinamagic lang yung accounting para magmukhang meron siyang kita. Okay? Earnings quality. The quality of earnings refers to the proportion of income attributable to the core operating activities of a business. Thus, if a business reports an increase in profits due to improved sales or cost reductions, tumaas yung sales, bumaba yung cost, the quality of earnings is considered to be high. Maganda yung quality ng earnings. Okay? An organization can have low quality earnings if the changes in its earnings relate to other issues. Kapag yung earnings niya ay mema, no? Tumaas yung earnings dahil gumamit ng accounting magic, no? Binago niya yung depreciation expense. Ginawa niyang 20 years instead of 15 years para bumaba ang depreciation. Okay? Elimination of LIFO inventory layers. I'll talk about that in some future time. Inflation, tumaas lang yung kita dahil tumaas yung mga presyo. Sale of asset for gain. Siyempre, pag binenta mo yung asset for a gain, hindi naman yan mauulit. No? Binenta mo yung PPE, tapos nag-gain ka. One time, big time lang yon. Pero hindi na yan mauulit next year. Tapos, nag-take ka ng maraming risk, kaya mataas yung returns mo, pero delikado pala sa company. So these are low quality earnings. In general, any use of accounting trickery to temporarily bolster earnings para lang magmukhang kumikita tayo kahit hindi naman talaga reduces the quality of earnings. Tagalugin ko, ano yung quality of earnings? Ito yung kakayanan mong panindigan yung kita na ni-report mo. Sinabi mo profit mo tumaas ng 10%. Kaya mo bang panindigan yan every year? Okay? Kung conservative ka sa accounting policies mo, mas madaling panindigan kung conservative ka. No? Kasi maingat ka sa pag-report ng profit. Kung conservative ka, mas maganda yung quality ng earnings. Mas magtitiwala yung mga shareholders sa'yo. A key characteristic of high quality earnings is that the earnings are readily repeatable over a series of reporting periods rather than being earnings only reported as a one-time event. Okay? Sa earnings quality, inaaral natin yung source, stability, tsaka trends. In earnings quality, we look at the source. Constant ba yung source? No? Is it a continuous source of revenue or one-time lang? Stability. Hindi ba siya pabago-bago na nagfa-fluctuate? Trends. Hindi ba pabagsak yung trend? Baka mamaya pabagsak yung trend ng profit. Okay? So, knowing what you already know now, based on our discussion, answer this one. If a corporation has the option to use either a shorter period or a longer period to amortize a patent, and it can use either declining balance method or straight line method to depreciate a fixed asset, the corporation would be considered to have better earnings quality if it uses the blank. Okay? I will give you 2 minutes to answer. Game? All answers in now. Everyone please answer. Alin dyan yung better quality ng earnings? Enter now. Everyone please. Okay. Either a shorter period or a longer period to amortize. Mas conservative kapag nag-amortize ka ng shorter period. Example, you have the option to amortize over 3 years or 5 years. Mas conservative yung 3 years kasi ina-assume mo na expense na yung patent. Okay? Sakaling maging obsolete man yung patent sa year 4, hindi ka magpoproblema na magkaroon ka ng loss at mababawas ang kita mo sa future. Dahil sa umpisa pa lang, malaki-laki na yung ina-amortize mo. Ina-assume mong malalaking expense. Okay? So, between shorter and longer period, mas conservative yung shorter period. No? Kung pwede nga, 2 years lang i-amortize mo. No? Today and next year, expense na. Wala ka nang poproblemahin i-amortize next year. Yung kita mo next year, after na-amortize, buo na. No? So the shorter period to amortize, it is more conservative. Declining balance tsaka straight line method. Declining tsaka straight line method. Alin ang mas okay? Declining or straight line method? Okay, between declining method and straight line method, mas conservative yung declining. Kasi sa umpisa pa lang, malalaki na yung dinedepreciate mo. Wala ka nang masyadong i-depreciate sa future. The correct answer is letter C. Okay? The correct answer is letter C. Ulitin ko ha, mas conservative, mas madaling panindigan. Ay, shorter period ang pag-depreciate ko or pag-amortize ng patent. Very good, no? Kasi pagdating ng future time, at least in-expense mo na lahat. Kung mawala man yung patent, nakapasok yung competitor, at least wala ka nang gawing loss. Double declining method. Kung nasira man yung machine sa year 2, at least konti na lang loss mo kasi dinepreciate mo na ng malaki. Ulitin ko ha, mas conservative, mas malaki ang quality ng earnings. Mas madaling panindigan kapag in-expense mo ng malaki. Okay? Nagpakita ka ng napakababang income dahil marami ka ng in-expense. Mas madaling panindigan yon. Kesa yun, binabawasan mo yung expense mo, tinataas mo yung income. Malinaw ba? Is what I'm saying make sense? Sinabing earnings quality. Please confirm. Okay. Malinaw na ha? Okay, sana malinaw na. Marami sa inyo sumagot ng boy, no? Baliktad. Okay? Hindi natin tinitingnan kung saan lalaki yung income. Ang importante, mas madaling panindigan. Pag sa ngayon, pinaliit mo yung income, mas madaling panindigan yun. Saan dyan mas liliit ang income ngayon? Kapag shorter period to amortize, liliit ang income. Kapag double declining balance, liliit talagang income ngayon. Mas madali na yan panindigan sa future. Yun yung earnings quality. 30 seconds for this one. I'll give you 30 seconds for this one. Enter. All of the following are important factors to consider when evaluating the quality of company's revenue except. Okay, tinitingnan natin yung source, stability, and trends. Wala akong binanggit na value. No? That's not a related concept. Yung value na yan. Wala akong binanggit na ganun ha. A is the correct answer because that's not one of them, no? The exception. Okay, last na. Okay. Which statements describe indicators of earnings quality? Tingnan natin kung nag-gets nyo na talaga. Which statements describe indicators of earnings quality? Yung talagang masasabi mong madaling panindigan yung income. Kaya ni company panindigan yung income. Okay? Sige, 1 minute. Okay, let me read one by one. Consistency in reporting policies is an indication of earnings quality. Company with stable earnings levels is an indication of earnings quality. More conservative accounting policies are an indicator of earnings quality. A company with widely varying earnings levels from year to year is an indication of earnings quality. Okay? Is it A, B, C, or D? Enter, everyone. Enter now. Okay. Yung first three, no? Yung unang tatlo, that's an indication of earnings quality. Hindi ka pa bago-bago ng policy ng accounting mo. Ay, gusto kong baguhin yung policy ngayon para gumanda yung profit ko ngayon. Tapos next year, iba naman. No? Stable earnings, ibig sabihin kayang panindigan ng company talaga at more conservative yung accounting policy. If you are fluctuating, if your earnings are fluctuating, no, widely varying earnings level, that is not an indicator of quality. Okay? The correct answer is C, 1, 2, and 3. Correct answer is C, 1, 2, and 3. I will give you 30 minutes to do your seat work or your homework. That's the same. Nandun sa blackboard ha. Nakikita nyo naman yung activity natin. I will give you 30 minutes to work on that. Okay, please be back by 12:05 ha. I-submit nyo ha. I-submit nyo sa discussion board. Mas comfortable ako na naka-discussion board, naka-upload. Submit them in the discussion board by 12:05. Magre-resume tayo to discuss the answers. See you later. Okay, has everyone already submitted their answers? Lahat na ba? Okay na? Okay. So everyone, listen now. So we are going to, let me flash first. Okay. Okay. Let us now answer the exercises. Tingnan natin kung napanood nyo talaga yung video at nare-recall nyo yung mga lessons nyo dati. Okay. Question number 1. Eastwood Corporation. Please enter your answers. Please enter your answers. Enter now. Anong sagot niyo sa Eastwood Corporation? Eastwood Corporation reported net sales of 300K, for 40K and 510K in years 20x5, x6, x7 respectively. If 20x5 is the base here, what percentage does 20x7 sales represent of the base? So ito yung sales natin, no? 300K for 40K and 510K. If you are just asked for the percentage of 20x7 sales represent of the base, what you need to do is to just divide this by the base year's amount of 300,000. $500,000 divided by $300,000. This will give you 170%. This will give you 170%. Okay lang? Okay. Kung tanong ay increase, A ang magiging sagot. The correct answer is dog. If you are asked for the increase, the answer will be A. Let me repeat ha. If you are asked for the increase, the answer will be A. But the question is, what percentage does 20x7 sales represent of the base? The answer is dog, 170%. Question 2. Question 2. Enter. Question 2. Enter. Okay? Anong ibig sabihin yan? Kapag 700 million ang assets mo, yung cash mo, 450 million. Ang ibig sabihin nito ay OA ka sa liquidity. This is very high liquidity. Anong ginagawa mo sa kumpanya mo? Puro cash yung hawak mo. Pinapatulog mo sa bangko. Gumawa ka ng company para lang humawak ng cash. This is excessive liquidity. So if Butler Resources has 700 million in assets, and of these assets, 450 million are in cash, okay? This is overly high liquidity. Correct answer is A. Correct answer is A. Next. What about this one? Question number 3. A, B, C, or D? Enter. Okay, dito iba-iba yung sagot nyo. Consider the following transactions. A firm receives cash on account. A firm sells goods on account. COGS lower than sales price. A firm makes a payment on account. A firm purchases inventory on account. If a firm has a quick ratio greater than 1, okay, greater than 1. Example ng ratio na greater than 1. Magbibigay ako ng random example ha. 3/2. No? Assuming that the quick ratio is greater than 1, which of the following transactions would cause its quick ratio to decrease? Okay? A, yung AR mo naging cash. Sa letter A, ito yung quick ratio ha. Quick assets over current liab. This includes cash, AR, marketable securities muna. Cash, marketable securities, and accounts receivable. Hindi kasama ang inventory tsaka prepayment dyan ha. Hindi included ang inventory tsaka prepayment dyan. Okay? So, number 1, A firm receives cash on account. Number one, a firm receives cash on account. Your AR become cash. No effect. No effect ito sa ating quick ratio. Two, a firm sells goods on account. COGS is less than the sales price. So by selling goods, you lose inventory and gain AR. Nagkaroon ka ng AR. Yung inventory na hindi kasama sa quick assets, wala yon, walang effect. Pero nagkaroon ka ng AR. In number two, your quick ratio will increase. For number two, your quick ratio will increase. Okay? So number one, no effect. No? Number one, no effect. Ano naman ang number two? Number two, the quick ratio will increase. Number three, a firm makes payment on account. Mawawalan ka ng cash. Okay? Mawawalan ka ng cash. Sabihin na natin 3-2 yung quick ratio. Minus 1 peso cash. Nagbayad ka ng payable. Nawalan ka ng payable, nawalan ka ng cash. 3/2 becomes 2/1. The ratio will increase. No? 3/2, nagbayad ka ng piso na AP. Nagbayad ka ng piso na AP. So kung nagbayad ka ng piso na AP, mawalan ka ng cash, mawalan ka ng AP, yung 3/2 mo, magiging 2/1. This is an increase. Importanteng malaman nyo that the quick ratio is greater than 1. The ratio would behave differently if it is less than 1. Example, 2/3. Kapag yung ratio nyo ay 2/3, for example, kapag yung ratio nyo 2/3, for example, what happens is, when you pay 1 peso AP, yung 2/3 mo magiging 1/2. Ano nangyari? Bumaba yung ratio. Kung greater than 1, mas tataas yung ratio pag equal deduction. Pag less than 1, may equal deduction, bababa yung ratio. 4. A firm purchases inventory on account. Okay. Nagkaroon ka ng dagdag na current liabilities. Walang dagdag na quick assets kasi inventory yan. This would result to lower. This would result to a lower quick ratio. The correct answer is letter boy. Sorry, dog. The correct answer is letter dog. 4 only. Maraming sumagot ng boy, ha? Kaya maraming sumagot ng boy. Thank you for answering, everyone. At least it gave me an idea. Okay? So, emphasize ko lang, ha? Transaction 1, the firm receives cash on account. The firm receives cash on account. What happens is when it receives cash in account, magkakaroon ka ng cash, mababawasan ka ng current liab. Okay? Magkakaroon ka ng cash, mababawasan ka ng current liabilities. Ano yung mangyayari dyan? Okay, ang mangyayari dyan ay -1, -1. Sorry, receives pala. Nalito tuloy ako. Nawalan ka ng AR, magkakaroon ka ng cash, no? Receives cash on account. Mawawalan ka ng AR, magiging cash siya, so no effect. Okay? Kapag nagbenta ka naman on account, tapos kumita ka naman doon, ang problema niyan, magkakaroon ka ng AP, tapos yung inventory mo, magkakaroon ka ng AR, madadagdagan, yung inventory mo, no effect, yung nawalang inventory. Okay? Kapag ito nangyari, payment on account, increase din, no? Kasi greater than 1 siya. Kung less than 1, magdi-decrease yung ratio. So, ito lang, number 4 lang yung magiging sagot natin. I hope that's clear. Next question. Anong sagot niyo dito? What's your answer in this? What's your answer in this problem? Office company has total assets of 475K, total liab of 130K. The company's debt to equity ratio. So debt to equity ratio ang hinahanap, ha? debt to equity ratio. So that's total liab to total equity. So the total liab is 130,000. Your equity is the difference between asset and liab. So this is 130 over 345K. You will have 38%. The debt to equity ratio is very good, 0.38. Nakuha naman ng lahat ha, 0.38 yung debt to equity ratio. Next, what about this one? Times interest earned. Everyone? Times interest earned. Everyone, what's your answer? In 20x7, Andres Enterprises reported a net income for 18K. Interest expense 57K. Tax expense 146K. What was Andres Enterprises tie ratio for the year? What was Andres Enterprises tie ratio for the year? Start tayo kay net income. Pag silent, net income after tax yan. Ha? When the problem is silent, that's earnings after tax. That's earnings after tax. Okay? 418,000. 418,000. To arrive at your EBIT, you have to add back the income tax of 146K, 564K, add back interest of 57K, giving you an earnings before interest and taxes 621,000. 621,000. Once you have EBIT, makakalculate mo na yung tie ratio mo. Tie is equal to EBIT over interest expense, 621K divided by 57K. This would give you 10.89 times. The correct answer is C. EBIT ang numerator, ha? EBIT ang ating numerator. Take note of that. Mga iba nagiging careless dito. Gusto natin malaman kung meron ba tayong sufficient EBIT to cover interest expense. We want to know whether there's sufficient EBIT to cover the interest expense. So your numerator should be EBIT. Meron. Kaya mong bayaran 10.89 times yung interest expense with this amount of EBIT. C. Next question. What about this one? What about this one? Okay. So, hindi ko nabanggit, no? Next time, pag silent, 365 days na tayo, ha? We will assume 365 days. But nevertheless, everything is acceptable for now. If Nico Corporation has COGS of 300,000, inventory of 30,000, inventory turnover, ano? Tapos yung average age of inventory. This is the days in inventory. So I will use 365 days here, ha? Inventory turnover is your cost of goods sold divided by the average inventory. I-assume natin average to. The inventory turnover is 10 times. The inventory turnover is 10 times. Anong ibig sabihin yan? Imagine nyo may inventory kayo, no? Magkano ang inventory nyo? Yung inventory nyo, 30,000. Okay? Sa isang taon, yung COGS mo, 300. In a year, your COGS is 300. Meaning to say, yung inventory mo na 30,000, 10 beses mo na paikot. You're able to turn it around 10 times. Yun yung ibig sabihin ng inventory turnover. Okay? Then the days in inventory, ilang days bago mabenta yung inventory, no? Pagkabili mo ng inventory, ilang days bago mo mabenta yung inventory? That would be inventory over your daily cost of goods sold. 30,000 divided by 300K over 365 is 36.5 days. Okay? Ganito yung mangyayari ha. When you multiply your inventory turnover by the days in inventory, when you multiply your inventory turnover by your days in inventory, the tendency is that, the tendency, kapag minultiply mo yung inventory turnover sa days in inventory, you will have the number of days in the year. Okay? So I'm going to cut my discussion here. Okay? Ituloy ko na lang yung discussion. Ituloy ko na lang yung discussion next live session sa Monday, presumably. Okay? Tapos, for the remainder of the session, we will proceed to risk and returns. Okay? We will proceed to risk and returns. Okay lang? Okay. So thank you for listening to this live session. We will continue next meeting. For the remainder of the time, we are going to have asynchronous activities. Abangan ko kayo sa GC ha. See you in the GC.